Okay, I have this pleasure tonight to introduce Maria Leonor Hipólito. I think there are more names to it. I have the pleasure to follow Leonor's career, becoming and work since nearly 30 years.
Right.
Which sounds like a lifetime, but I can tell you, it's a blip. Long time before Glenn Edison coined the term post-discipline, I would say Leonor already was an example for somebody who was not bound by disciplines and fluidly used different genres, disciplines, mediums, skills to make her work. I know she is dancing, making books. She's a goldsmith. She's a real jeweler. She draws. She makes installations and sculptures. And none of those things feel as if they're somewhere situated in a hierarchy to each other. They're all necessary to. You were just talking yesterday, Leonor, about interrogation of self-analysis, growing process.
Right. It's all about that. You will see after the presentation, you're like, oh, it's all the same. It's all a very deep dive into a self-actualization constantly.
And I love for you all to see the work she does, because I think she is an amazing example for how you should live, work, make, and basically give a shit about whether you are within a discipline, whether you are aligned with expectations. And the quality of her work, I think, is proof that you can do it. And you should not dismiss the side paths, the crossroads, and the interests which might enter your practice at a later stadium in life. So I'm really happy. It took a while. I think we've been working on this visit for a few years. So I'm really happy to welcome Leonor here. And I hope, and I'm sure that you will enjoy her work as much as I do it. Thank you.
Thank you.
For being here.
Thank you. Well, hello everyone. Thank you. Thank you for being here. It's really an enriching experience to present you my work, and it was definitely a challenge to select some work to be able in such a short time give you a good overview of my practice. I hope I succeed in that. I want to address a special thanks to Iris Eichenberg, because it means a lot to me, her invitation, her support. And of course, everyone from the Cranbrook Academy of Art that was engaged to make this encounter possible. Thank you. One thing I usually tell myself whenever I prepare a presentation, do you hear me? Yeah. It's that I must consider to include at least one project from my last years of study. And this is so because, well, I was briefly in sculpture in Lisbon, but then I decided to follow jewellery, and I went to the Gerrit Rietveld Academy from 1994 to 1999, the year I graduated, and where I met Iris. She was one of my teachers and the main teacher orienting me in the last year. And in particularly one project which I bring you, Tools for the Subconscious, which is my end exam project. It shows me how so actual is still what I was working in that time, and how resonating is still in my work, since it's a project about reflection, introspection, going within. And I wanted to make a series of works. I work mainly creating series, meaning I try to go around the same theme by making different works, as if positioning myself in different vantage points, and like this approach to the theme, and get as much as I can get from it. And so I see it always as an experimental process. And they come to this series, to these groups that talk about that theme. And this is a series of works where the pieces are, which I call tools, therefore I call them tools for the subconscious, and they interact with the body, and they probe the wearer to go within, to be aware of oneself. So I make these pieces that are connecting here to mouth or ear to nose. Here plugs that can promote the inward listening. Very much focus on senses, like mainly hearing, standing for listening, which is very important, and touch, standing for feeling. And so sometimes the works are promoting this contact with oneself by going within, or promoting the proximity of the other. And the other here is very important also as a catalyst for self-awareness and for becoming in contact with the private, with the intimate self. They look a little bit like, they are all very different, but most looking like tools or processes. But then I also try this kind of gloves and objects for the hands, which comes very much from the previous work, which was gestures that I worked for 2 years. And this is a piece that blurs, in a way, the boundaries between the two projects. And then there is another facet in this project, and I'm showing you here only samples of the projects. I made all kind of work, some I like more, some less, and then I have this other aspect, which is the inner and outer world, and the going within, this auscultation, which the best symbol then is the stethoscope. It's showing its ripple effect in the outside surroundings with these branches, showing that this mental activity is just branching out. The end exam, we had to create write about our work and present a thesis and a visual paperwork. And I made another with a text, and then I made this little book, which was almost like another jewelry piece. And I photographed basically all the images, reference images and the jewelry pieces, all in photo paper, and made this little book. And I think it's from there on, a little bit earlier, but here I start feeling really the sense of the book as also an artwork and also an expression that I was interested in exploring. Many years later, I start publishing some books, and this is not the first, but it's one of them. Beyond Emotions. Beyond Emotions, it's both a book and a jewelry project. They are on their own, works on their own, but in this book I have writings which dialogue with photographs of the work, which then continues later on. It emancipates from the book, and I make new works. But here, these ones from the first group of works are really creating a kind of oscillation between thought and form constantly in the book, as the writings are facing the jewelry piece. And I brought the book with me, so you can then browse in the end of this presentation or later on. The work itself, Beyond Emotions, It's also a series of jewelry pieces which take a little bit a different note. They become more sculptorical, and they grow in dimension in relation to other works I had. And they are shown also in a manner that you don't define clearly what kind of function they have. I exhibited for the first time. I looked for the space, and I knew this art space in Lisbon, which had a very much home-like dimensions, which I'm very interested because it's this human scale that interests me most of the time. And I created an installation where, in the same way like in the book, where the texts are like creating clusters, moods in the pages, I created these clusters in the space, and using elements that we find also in the house, like shelves or frames or chairs. And they were all, these works are all in the book. In this project, I use leather. This is a chair. Chairs, now I jump a little bit, but I think it's important to say I make a lot of works with chairs, either chairs being plinths or being sculptures themselves. And it always marks the presence of a person in the space. As I was saying, in this series, I use a lot of leather, and leather for me has double meaning. It's very much something intimate, close to our body, but it also can be cruel and can underline a period of a poignant period of certain intensity, which interested me very much in this series because it's a project about it's about transmuting a certain heavy period, a certain heavy phase into something lighter. It's like embracing vulnerability as strength and surpassing all kind of bitterness that could undermine any of my further steps. Here, this is a piece that is in the cover of the book, and Beyond the Emotions, and it's several layers of the brain, and it's pierced in this golden frame. So you can imagine it's this kind of surpassing stages of being and of, oh, sorry. Later on, I created another exhibition, and as I was telling you, I made more works after the first exhibition, where I also showed the book. And I had the opportunity to make this exhibition in a much smaller place. It was Gallery Goldfingers in Copenhagen, Denmark. And I could, in a way, recreate this intimate space, having again the chair marking the human presence, but also calling the viewer to come closer and to see themselves in the work. And on the right hand of the wall, I decided, which the other exhibition didn't have, I included one poem that I have in the book. And I think I want to read you. And it says, "How close are things to each other? How close are you to things you like? How close are you to liking? How close are you to becoming things you like? How close are you and things alike? How close are we to each other? Do you know how close? Well, like Iris was saying, one of the things I realized, it happened naturally, was to, was not even to erase boundaries, was gathering everything. So it happened naturally. But I guess this project, I was aware of how so easily also in the art world, there is the tendency of separating the fills, the expressions, and try to categorize. And I myself experienced that. And I think thin is the line was a kind of statement like, no, I'm going to blend everything together and I'm going to erase the boundaries. And I'm actually going to enhance the interlacement of all these expressions and all these different expressions that are anyway used to for the same reason, which is to give voice to what I want to express. And thin is the line. It borrows title to the expression thin line or fine line, but it also expresses a literal use of the yarn for making most of the pieces. Here the drawings are also made with cutting out the paper, and the motifs that we see in the drawings then replicate or repeat, but a little slightly different, of course, but you start recognizing motifs in all the works and appear in the sculptures. And then sculptures look like tools that could be used to spin the yarn that was then used to make them. And the sculptures, these are non-wearable pieces, are in the same level of the jewelry pieces, so there is no hierarchy in the entire group of works. And the work that probably ties them all together is this one, which is a capsule, which can be a sculpture, but then has all these needles, which are wearable. And so the needle here being the symbol for joining, stitching things together, grouping, mending, etc. And so here, the wearable pieces are exactly made in the same fashion as, for instance, the sculpture pieces. Then the sculpture pieces some are standing on a simple platform like this one, but they are close to another work, which is a sculpture itself, which looks like a plinth, but is not. It's a work by itself, which actually contains a drawing. Here you can see the visual was a very low exhibition, so you had to go and to really look down at the pieces, because then I use the boxes also from the pieces as the bases to show them, and then the works looking like plinths, and the drawings. Here is just a detail. I hope you can see there is a drawing on the floor, also with hands cut out, where this sculpture is on top. So basically, I wanted to reiterate this idea that it doesn't matter what you use to express your idea as long as you can do it, and it's everything. It's for the same purpose, and they even enhancing and support each other, and also it's also blending and erasing the boundaries. Since I use crochet in this work, so it also erases the boundaries between craft and arts, and it's one of also aspects of this work. Now we jump a little bit in time, and this, by the way, this presentation is mostly not organized chronologically, so we go back and forth in time. One important aspect of my work is also to enhance the importance of nature as not even as part of ourselves, but the other way around, that we are actually bound to nature, we're part of nature, we are organic, mortal, and how important it's not to forget that. I'm very fond of preserving that idea that we are coming out of nature. We are our bodies, ourselves, we belong to nature. So in this project, I wanted to show that idea of inseparability by creating. I had the first exhibition of this project in Gallery Marzee in Nijmegen, Netherlands. And I wanted to construct a kind of investigation laboratory atmosphere by presenting the work in these glass forms, these circles resembling Petri dish, where the works would be on and then writing kind of biological descriptions for some of them. And the way I blended this idea, this inseparability between nature and humans, and how we are so dependent on it to thrive, was by blending also forms, so creating works that either resemble plants or organs. And so once again, we don't know really, is it really like from the vegetable world or from the animal world? And so there is no separation, and it's like we're really one. And I use that also with the visual, using colors that exist in nature, but also materials that give this, like the rubber, hollow forms in rubber that might resemble sex or tissue from organs, or then the color itself, also cartilage, and other elements are totally like twigs and plant-like. And this was a very extensive series. I made about 40-something pieces, and tried as much as I could. So some things resemble really clearly branches, or others like glands, and so I really reinforce that inseparability, like I said, and also very fascinated with all the forms and all the beauty there is. Then there is another project, so I bring you two, where basically show that same intention of mine. And Gaia basically is like, is about all I said above, but worked in a completely different way. Gaia is one of the 3 projects I made while I was as an artist in residency in Ida Oberstein in Germany. That was in 2008, and I was there for 2 months as a professional artist working in the gem cutting workshop. And I had no doubt when I saw those stones, which usually is called inorganic matter, but I saw just organic matter and veins and tissue, and I had to gather all these pieces and compose the body of Gaia. And Gaia is inspired in the theory from James Lovelock about Gaia theory, which states that the earth is a living organism. And I'm just saying the same as I did in incorporation, like blending the separation, erasing the separation and stating that, well, earth is where we come from. And I use stones that they had there in the department, and some I identify with the help of the teacher. Others they mainly non and semi-precious, like marbles and jaspers and a soapstone or agates. And I wanted them for the quality, for the expression they could bring to this project. They are all hand-worked and out of rough pieces, like chunks really of stone. In 2017, I decided to publish this book, Looking at Us. And this book was coming out of an essay that I wrote, which was quite surprisingly for me to have written it, because usually I write small texts about the work and then some poems, and to make a deeper analysis of my work, it's not something that was in my agenda to do. But then I started, I had all these projects that revolved around domestic utensils and things from the house, like aprons, brooms, brushes, and I saw them all as metaphors for my work. And I started writing about it, about the process of working, and I thought it was of value to share it, and I decided to create a book where this essay includes some poems, but also fragments of statements and poems from other authors, and then images of 3 projects that I made around that time, and intertwined with some photography from Arne Kaiser, which was also the graphic designer of the book. And I think the best project to show you more or less the atmosphere of that essay it's this one, which is one of the featured in the book. And it's very much about what the whole text exposes. Today I am, tomorrow another one. It's a title by itself that suggests that like I am sweeping the floor. Meaning it's like I'm accompanying the rhythms of the days, the cycles of life, and it's very much about states of being and becoming. Therefore, all these objects that you see here that are very much connected to the intimate side, like the house, the home, the brush, the broom, the apron. While I was writing, they were really becoming metaphors for ingesting, digesting, assimilating, transforming. So all these metaphors for states of consciousness and being and becoming, which I was very interested about. On the sensuality of these objects that we find in the house and that are so close to us and also so close to our practice of making things. And for me, even more perhaps, because I was having my studio at home for more than 20 years, and it really was shaping my way of working, sometimes interfering, sometimes I took the good side of it by having this introspective time while cleaning the house and thinking on deeper subjects, and then kind of processing it into the work and especially into that text. And so I was very fond of this kind of the fabrics, these textiles, which are used in the house as cleaners, tissues to clean, and elements like here you have the roll to tender the doughs, and the towel becomes a kind of intestine, and there is a constant activity, which then is very organic but very mental at the same time. It's like what I call rehearsal of the mind. And this piece is having this ceramic brain, which totally connects thought and emotion and all this process of thinking, which is also portraying routine, which is totally intrinsic with our motion and action and decision making. Well, if in this project that I just showed you, today I am, tomorrow another one, I was like shedding layers of reality of my life in order to give room to new layers. With dual, I think I was facing myself, I was face to face with myself and with the stubbornness of trying to keep things matters of the heart, and at the same time seeing that some things are inevitable to be released or to change. So there is this, it's a project that is very much a duet and a dual at the same time. And I made for the first time a project where I split it in two exhibitions following each other. And so it's a project that is in two parts, or what I would call two acts. It has this theatrical quality to it. And I found a space, another art space in Lisbon, where I could join all the pieces and have this small room that was almost like a stage itself. And the people would enter, where you see the images, where you would enter and face this scene. And this scene is full of tension because, and at the same time so quiet, so it remains, it's a scene in suspense. And it has this centerpiece, and the centerpiece, well, I wanted to create a kind of fighting arena mainly, but can also be a stage or a wardrobe, a closed space where these two objects are facing each other. And one is, this pink one is like a fencing-like costume that is in front of another hanger, both are hangers, and is facing another hanger, which is a skeleton. And they are in this dual. And around this centerpiece, it's almost like the outside. And on one wall were these very fine copper branches where two bangles hang from, and these kind of bracelets, I don't know if you have that, but in Portugal, they were called slaves. It was from the slave time, these kind of bangles. And well, they hang there free as a kind of whispering, perhaps an outcome, suggesting the mysteries that are around, and something happened. And on the other opposite wall, and in the corner, it was this staff, but it also could be a cane or a scythe or sickle, which is for me symbol of transformation, of the harvesting of something that dies and gives room to something else, so of transformation. And on the same wall, here you don't see, but I will show you then, there is a frame drawing, which was actually framing the entire scene. Because this drawing, which was made, I think, 2 years before, approximately, and it had the title Duet, and it was whispering to me, make a project, make a project. And later on, I give this project the title Duet, Dual. And as you can see, it's a drawing with a graphite and color pencil, and it shows several profiles facing each other with tongue sticking out, suggesting either a debate, a fight, or a love affair. The second part, or second act, happening in the same space, has less pieces than the first, but we still recognize some pieces, such as the pink costume. But here, it's more deteriorated, and it became a relic. And in the showcase, where now it stands, it's you can see like only one bangle left, and copper coins. On the wall where there was the branches, and here I had to split because it was a very long piece. I hope you more or less understand, but it's kind of a frame, a deconstructed frame, painted black and white. And it hangs from a hook that resembles a detail of the limbic system, being the limbic system is a part in the brain that is responsible for behavioral and emotional response, specifically when needed, as a survival mode. And on the opposite wall, where was the scythe and the drawing, then was standing a mobile, which resembles a bit to the skeleton because of all these ribs. But there now it's laying free 7 drawings, and all these drawings are coming from the first one. But here the profiles are losing shape, and then the tongues are also becoming more and more like flames and more organic, and not anymore the faces are recognizable. Well, I think I wouldn't complete this presentation if I wouldn't show you a bit about my book production, since it's especially from that project that you just saw, Duel, on, is taking part of my time, since I'm writing more intensely poetry, and I published more since then. But since 2009, I publish my own books, and sometimes, as you saw in the previous, like Beyond Emotions, I mix jewelry and poetry. Others, like these ones, I mix drawings with poetry. And the books are really like objects of art by themselves. And the interesting thing is that writing for me is not very different from any other work. I mean, I couldn't use words for what I do when I do jewelry or an installation or a drawing. But the same is valid for writing. I couldn't do it in any other way. So it became also a very important means of expression for me. And I realized that by that the same way I create a series of works, a series of jewelry pieces, I create the poems that all together create a big poem, which is then the book. And in the same way, other works inspire me to make a book. For instance, like Beyond Emotions that you saw. The books inspire me to make works. And that's the most obvious example. Sweet Talker, Make Me Believe is a book in a kind of magazine format. And I made it without any thought, with any previous plan to make these jewelry pieces. But after I made it, I was inspired in the content, in the illustration. It's a book that has photography and illustration and few words. And then I decided, okay, I'm going to make, it was clear to me, I'm going to make 5 jewelry pieces, only 5, no more. And I will make one for each word. So this necklace, which is strips of leather where I draw with edding on. It's the sweet. And here you can see a little bit I put together with some pages. This one is the talker. This one is make. Me, and here you see a clearer connection with the illustrations. And finally, and the last, the only one that is not a pendant, it's a pin, is the belief. And more or less we finishing the presentation with more recent projects. I bring you two different projects that I think it's important to contextualize that, as I told you, I had my studio for more than 20 years at home, and that was, of course, I mean, I'm this kind of artist that doesn't separate my work from my life, so the environment obviously affects and stimulates my creation. And in 2021, I moved my studio to an apartment which is split into a workshop and rooms for exhibition. And I always wanted to have a working space together with exhibition space, because for all the years I've been working, basically, which is around 27, I've been creating most of my exhibitions, finding the spaces, writing for it, promoting it, and realizing that it's such an enriching side of the work to exhibit it, to put the works together, to put them dialoguing with each other, and how by becoming the viewer, I learned so much from what I can do and what the potential of what is there presented at me, and it becomes a chain reaction, and one thing informs the other, and like this you keep the flow of the work. And having a space to exhibit more freely also increased the amount of exhibitions I could make, and I could basically produce and show, and from that shows gain ideas and go on. Fragments of a Poet is one of them, and it's a jewelry project which matches very much the period that I started writing more. And I entitled Fragments of a Poet precisely to portray me, more or less, in this case, because it's a work that is almost constructed like I would choose the words to create the narrative. Because with this work, what happened is for the first time, I started gathering fragments and leftovers of other works and melt metal pieces from other works to create new forms, but based on that original ones. And so it became a much more intuitive work, more spontaneous, and also it took me to look at things that I created before differently, and joined everything. And this process interests me also, because I used to do everything from scratch, and to use fragments from other works. It's and to feel that intuitively how forms can also appear. It's something I'm very interested to develop. And I continue in a way that process with use and utterance, which with many forms, positive, negative in it, but the intuitive process of using forms that jump into other forms, other works. Here is not confined in the jewelry expression and works, But here I combine again all the, I work with the space, I combine painting with the wearable pieces and sculptures. And it's a very fresh project to me. I still feel like I can go on, and in such a way that I made the first exhibition, Use and Utterance First, which is this one you seeing, and then it was a cluster, a constellation of works, and then I decided this is not over. I want to make more, and then I made a second exhibition, and I still think I go on, and probably also developing my relation with the project and what it is about. But basically, it's joining the abstract with the concrete, this invisible side with the tangible side, which we see in also a landscape, and I call it Hues and Utterance to underline the more abstract, more mental side, and utterance with the physical, with the voice, with the manifestation of things, and this perspective that we are also space, we are active in creating a landscape. We are part of it, and so we are perspective and space at the same time. So we are also part of, we could see ourselves as a landscape as well. And so I create elements that either resemble like wind and sky, or how do you say, a riff? No, kind of, not abyss, but you know what I mean, like kind of a valley, or a canyon, but it's also connected with in the positive form of this, is connected to tongue and to obelisk, and so there is all these elements that we see either in the landscape or in a cityscape, but also very much ambiguous, like are these animal forms or body form, like shadows or things like this. And I'm still go on investigating into these layers that I feel it's so possible to explore. Here, this one is just to show you how the work is together. There's jewelry pieces, which are wearable pieces, like totally shown the same way as the painting next to it. And then this jewelry piece is with this fabric that, this is another one, and the fabric has this fabric that has this chalk line, and it resembles to me always, well, there's very mental, this very intellectual kind of connotation, but also could be the night sky. And then I use the same fabric. It's a very bad image, but I don't have any other. But I hope you can understand. It's the same fabric, this dark blue with the chalk lines, and it's a sculpture suspending from the ceiling. And this one, it's much more earthy. So there is always these elements of above, below, bound to the earth, high in the sky, and all this is for me composing a landscape and who we are. We are not just thought and dreams. We are carnal, we are physical, we are mortal, and basically is what I said in all the other works, and I'm just excited to do it in a different way. And basically to see that after so many years I still can actualize myself in relation to what is to be human for me and who I am, what kind of interests, and some things actually remain constant, so remain important. That's it. Thank you very much.